All right, we are back like we never left. This is amazing. You're welcome to your favorite podcast. This is the Well Bridge podcast. And I don't get to do this alone as usual. My name is Madupe. If you're just meeting me for the very first time, you're welcome. And I definitely have my cohort here with me today, my co host. I have Ademola and Adebola, wonderful, powerful giants in their industry of influence. How are you doing, lady and gentlemen?
Marvelous and spectacular.
Excellent. I love it.
Oh
I love
boy,
it.
I love that spectacular.
I do too.
Yeah. It's great
Excellent.
to be back.
I
Excited
know.
to see
I
what
know.
we have what we have today for everyone.
And just looking at how time flies and to see that today is the very last Saturday in the month of June, it just says it sent something down my spine, to say
Mhm.
we started this with a mission, we continue going through because we know that we have a community to serve. We have a community to help.
Yeah.
And of course, if you're just joining or catching up on this, we implore you, we indulge you, seek your indulgence. Go check out our previous episodes on this podcast. This is the Well Bridge, no fluffs at all. We bridge the gap here on this podcast because we have an intention to build wealth, not just for our level, but for generations that comes beyond us. And so today, just like we'll always do, listeners, just like we'll always do, okay, community members, we're discussing a topic, right, that is incredibly important for our immigrant families. And I know our immigrant families are very, very germane to us, and we're constantly, rooting for them. Many of us come from various countries seeking opportunities. Many of us have sacrificed one comfort, familiarity, one time or the other, and sometimes even our careers, so that our children, whom we are custodians for, could have a better life, could have a better future. But here is the question: what if we give our children every opportunity, but fail to teach them how money works? Can we literally say that we have actually failed or we have succeeded in giving them this opportunity? One of the things I'd like for us to see is that the four walls of the educational system will teach them the mathematics, will teach them the core subject, quote and unquote core subject, science, history, technology, the list is endless. They prepare children for college and for careers, yet these schools does not teach. Or maybe I say very few schools will teach budgeting, investing, taxes, debt management, entrepreneurship, or even wealth building. So there is a call today, just like we're actually slicing and dicing to the half period in the year 2026. Immigrant parent, if you're watching, share with another immigrant parent. We can't afford to leave our children's financial education to chances. Because we were not handed a script doesn't mean we shouldn't leave them with one, if you agree with me.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be discussing financial lessons schools are not teaching our children, but immigrant parents absolutely must. And you already know, my powerful lady and gentleman will slice and dice this topic so that you listening, you will leave empowered with insight to go on to the next. So let's jump right into it. All right, Demola and Debola. As we're preparing our children to earn money or to manage money, many immigrant parents place strong emphasis on education. Rightly so. That was how we were raised.
Mhm.
Go to school, get those great grades. We want to do well in school. It's all about the 4.0, the 5.0, right? But is academic success alone enough to secure a child's financial future, Ademola?
Well, well, awesome question, and this is my bread and butter right here. Because I mean, for me, this is one of the areas where I feel like we have dropped the ball, or should I say, we haven't dropped the ball, but we haven't really understood the fabrics of us getting to where we need to be at when it comes to economic empowerment is what I call it. While school is great, there's a good book that's written by somebody called Robert Kiyosaki, and he talks about rich dad, poor dad. What his rich dad taught him and what his poor dad taught him. While it's good to send our kids to school to get all the formal education as we know it to be, what about the financial education? Because at the end of the day, when we get all these fancy degrees, what are we going to do with it? It's to earn an income, right? So
I
how
guess so.
come we've been taught all these other fancy things, but nobody ever taught us about money? I don't know about you, Debola or Mudukwe. Maybe they taught you about money in your school, but in my school, they didn't teach me. And obviously, my parents didn't teach me. And unfortunately, the church isn't teaching us, or the
Mm,
religious institutions aren't teaching us. So,
mm,
where are we supposed to learn these things from if no one is teaching us? So, I want us to understand it's not enough for our kids to have good grades. It's not enough for our kids to have, the best degrees, have all these fancy degrees, and they still do not understand how money works. They
mm,
still do not understand this foundation that we allow them to be financially empowered and financially free. Because I believe that every single one of us, we should not just continue to go to school, make a living, and just survive
mm,
by quote unquote working for somebody by helping them build their own dreams. My question, if us or we as parents, if we did not learn it some way or the other, would you think it's going to teach our own children? Like they say, monkeys do, monkey see, monkey do. So it's
mm,
very, very important for us as parents to also equip ourselves by getting the right financial knowledge so that we can impact that on our children. So they just don't become, one of the statistics of good
mm,
grades, academic empowerment, but impoverished when it comes to finances. Take
mm.
it back to you.
Yeah, I'd like Debola chiming into that as well. But thank you so much, Demola. That was really, really apt.
You know,
Debola, over to
I
you.
completely agree with you. Uh, I hope you
Hmm.
can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear
So I
you.
was just
Hmm.
that I do agree with what Demola just said.
Hmm.
Financial literacy actually impacts nearly every major decision a person makes throughout life. So a
I
child
agree.
who understands money, learns discipline at
Mm,
early enough, patience and also delayed gratification, and they learn the difference between needs and wants. They know when to spend and when to hold back. Because when you know the difference between needs and wants, you know that if it's not something that you need, you don't need to actually spend
mm,
in getting it. So you rather save your money until when there is a need for that kind of thing. So they also learn that wealth isn't built by income alone, but by what you keep, what you invest, and what you multiply. All this doesn't just come because, oh, I was born into a wealthy family or I was born into a rich family. It comes because you were taught, the child has been taught. And like
mm,
Mutbe was asking that, was it Demola? There's still no teaching of financial uh, knowledge in schools even till now. And if we're waiting for our schools to take care of that aspect in the life of our children, then we will wait a long time. Okay? So many immigrant parents learn financial lessons through trial and error. We should not make the same mistake with our children. We don't want them to suffer the same things we suffer. So imagine how much further our children could go if they start with the knowledge, you know, now than having to suffer the same trial and error that we did. So
mm.
let's buckle up. Let's do the needful.
Buckle up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was so apt. I really appreciate both of you. You both touched on a very great nerves right there. Many schools don't teach this. Maybe I don't know what percentage I'm going to rate right now. Even for some of us who had studied accounting, finance, it wasn't a big course. Personal finance, period,
Mhm.
wasn't one of the school curriculum. And so
Yeah.
those are great insights you've shared. Earning money is important, but managing it is what ultimately determines financial success. So let's talk about what are those foundational habits, because we've talked about it's important. Parents, let's start doing it now. Because this is what happens if we fail to do that. I am so scared of what's going to happen to the next generation,
Hmm.
right? They are just going to think, the earning and the rate at which disruption has actually occurred in this age and time right now is so massive. So it's earning income is not going to be a conversation. It's no longer a prayer point, Ademola. It's no longer something we have to go to church and start praying, because I am telling you that this current generation we're seeing are breaking through and they are breaking forth. But the foundation, if it is destroyed, what can the righteous do?
Yeah.
We've heard of individuals who have raised a lot of money, but who have ended up being broke. So
Amen.
let's talk about this foundational habit. What money habit could you have your child learn even before 18? If financial education should start from our homes, what are those financial foundational habit parents should start imbibing into these children? If you could please start up Demola, and I'll have Demola chime in as well.
Awesome. Awesome question. I think one of the things that especially in this generation we are now, our children, they want it now. They want it now, like now, 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 now. They're not ready to wait for nothing. So, one of the first habits is definitely delayed gratification. We're in a day and age, in a world whereby, instant satisfaction, is what they want now. So when it comes to wealth building, this is something that requires a lot of patience and discipline. And I think that's one of the things that we have to teach our children, to understand that you have to be patient, you have to be disciplined enough. You can't just, they say you can make money fast, but you can't build wealth fast. Wealth
Mm,
is built over time. You could be rich and you could lose everything. You could go to Las Vegas today
mm,
and go gamble and become rich. But guess what? You could lose all that money. You could play the Powerball,
wow.
and win the and become a millionaire. But guess what? Because you don't have that discipline, that foundation, you're
Mm,
going to lose all that money. And there's a statistics that even shows that
mm,
most people that fall into wealth or fall into money suddenly, they most times commit suicide within the very first 2 3 years. And these are
mm,
some of the things that if adults are having that challenge, how much more kids? And obviously, kids are the ones that will grow into become adults. So if our children are not being taught this foundation of delayed gratification, of understanding that they have to exercise patience and discipline, how would they ever be able to build wealth? How would
mm,
they be able to be good stewards of money? So I think this is some of the things, the third habit, which is us planning. Every dollar should have a purpose, whether it's saving it, spending it, investing it, or giving it.
mm,
We must be able to teach our children what the purpose of every single dollar that comes into their, their account, or comes into their management, to be able to manage these things very, very well. So I think this is one of the things that
excellent.
I think we need to emphasize more as a foundation.
Good. Thank you. I'm sure Debola has an add on right there.
Oh, definitely, and very importantly, our children needs to know about responsibility.
Hmm,
That money is earned responsibly. They need to understand that that money comes from value, from work, from skill, from service, of problem solving, something that's you must have done, not just by asking, not just because I ask and it just comes. So you know that you can't just spend it anyhow. Like I said, the money that you have worked hard to earn, you spend it wisely. And it's also important that they need to avoid waste. Waste in any way. It does not just mean the way they spend money, because money takes care of a lot of things. So you talk
mm,
of waste of material things, waste of of whatever it is that they, even subscription, their phone bills, their phone subscription, they Unnecessary purchases and they need to learn about that. And another very important is that they need to be generous and be wise. Children should learn to give. They should learn giving very early. If they can give while they're young, they will be able to give when they're older, when they become
Mm,
adults. It won't be something difficult for them to do. Helping families, helping other people, helping in the church, the community, and not just learning to be generous, but also that generosity should have boundaries. Generosity
Mm.
should have boundaries. You don't just throw
Yeah.
everything away anywhere, anyhow. You know, that's very important. And I mean, there's some other habits that, I mean, there are a lot of them. Learn about debt early, let them understand what debt is early, and how to start investing or building even the little that they have. Those are the
mm,
kind of things that we let them be responsible anyway, very important for what they get. You don't just get it because you ask for it. You can start working for it. Take care of that. Take care of this.
mm.
Carry out this chore and complete this chore, and then you get this. Let them know that value of money. I'm gonna stop there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Audience, I hope you're listening. And again, I'm going to emphasize this. If you're a parent and you know another parent, this is a perfect time you want to share this podcast. Okay. Subscribe, like, so that you can always follow us up and you will see notification when we're going to come live. Anyway, I love all what you have said, and there isn't, just one financial habit. There are quite a few of them, right? But most of the time, out of love, parents are unintentionally working against these lessons because they just want to love on the child and they're doing it for the child. And to be honest, if care is not taken, so many things would have gone very, very sour. This is a very sensitive topic. I'm going to warn our audience about this. But it's also important, right, that we talk about this. Are immigrant parents accidentally creating financial independence, or are they creating what I refer to as, financial dependence?
Mm.
Let me make sure I repeat that question. Are immigrant parents, are they breeding children who will end up becoming financially dependent or will be financially confident? If you could take that, Demola.
Well, I mean, this is a very, very sensitive topic, but it's also an important one that has to be discussed, one that
Yeah,
has to be addressed, because many parents, they lead from a place of love. And when you look at it in our immigrant community, you know, um, many immigrants' parents, remember growing up with very little. So a lot of times, because of those experiences, they don't want their children to go through some of the hardship that they've gone through. And I think this is a very, very huge challenge that a lot of parents face. And one has to be very careful. I ran into a video that shows how a father that started with nothing built everything, you know, and handed the wealth to the child. The child now obviously spends everything lavishly because he never had to work for nothing. But guess what? Because they squandered everything, everything now goes back to square zero, whereby they had nothing.
On the
And
square,
it goes
yeah.
in circle again that way, whereby now what somebody else has built over time, because
Mm,
they didn't teach those children the core values of management,
mm,
discipline, stewardship, and all these. That cycle, they squandered all that. And I think this is very, very important. Even though we want to show our children we love them, even though we don't, but we have to understand that challenges, hardship is part of life, and these things
yeah,
build. Even if you look at the wealthiest people now, most of them went through their fair share of hardship, mistakes. They learned from mistakes. They started learning how to solve problems on their
mm,
own, which gave them confidence. So at times as parents, yes, we should guide them, but we should not be overly protective, so that our children cannot even learn some of the core principles that comes with learning, understanding financial literacy, learning, understanding that you have to fall at times in life and you have to get up. So our job is to guide them, not to shield them from everything, because obviously we can't even shield them. Else, what are we building? Are we building
Yeah.
men and women, or are we continuing to build babies? They said at some point you have to stop drinking milk and you have to start cracking bones. So
Mm,
if we're going to build the next leaders, the next generation, we have to let them go through some of the challenges of life, and they can grow from such obstacles and become the future leaders we want them to be.
perfect. Go for it, Debola. Mm,
Yeah, it's really about balance, and we're talking about learning. We're talking about them learning about money early enough. Learning is not about doing in something for them, or it's about building and challenging. I would say someone's intellect. That's what learning is about. So we can't just make them do everything for them. That's just like as Demola has mentioned. So the question is whether supporting them is preparing them for independence or not. We have to make sure that we are achieving that aim of getting them ready for the future.
mm,
You know, many immigrant parents work hard to protect their children from struggle. Demola mentioned that without even realizing it. That protection can sometimes delay financial maturity or any
mm,
kind of maturity. And since we're talking about
mm,
money, so the issue is not love. The issue is when support replaces maturity. Okay,
Hmm.
parents
mm,
may accidentally create dependency when they pay for everything without even teaching the why behind the money choices. Children receive help but don't even know, don't learn budgeting or sacrifice or saving or planning.
mm,
You know, they create dependency when they use guilt or fear around money. Oh, statements like, "Oh, we suffered for you," can those kind of things can make children feel obligated, but not
Mhm.
necessarily financially confident. They just okay. My parents suffered. I have to, I cannot disappoint them. I can't, things like that. No, and we can always rescue them, like Demola mentioned. At the same time, please don't avoid money conversations. Open up, tell them, let them know you want them to learn. We have to be open. We have to talk about money. You know, don't. It's not just about just go to school and get a good job. You know, but never teach investing. No, you have to talk about money. Helping them is not wrong, but constant rescue can prevent them from learning the consequences and responsibilities. All right, I'm going to just hold on there.
Wonderful, wonderful. These are all excellent pointers that both of you have talked about. And it's like we're talking about the tough love that would see the test of time and that will make them really who they need to be. And so the goal isn't we're making life harder for their children, but the goal is to prepare them for life, for the real life itself. And this is going to take us to our next question. Since we're really talking about children, and I know we're kind of like, running out of time here, but I'd like for you to please chime in, Demola, and I'll have Debola close us out, okay? What financial topics do you think every teenager, because most of the time, we will find out that our children will leave our abode first, maybe to go to college for an extended period of time. This is somebody you see every morning, right? And all of a sudden they're out of your purview, right? And they have to be in school for an extended period of time. So what are those, one, two, three, four, topics, whatever it is, that you think teenagers needs to understand before leaving them?
Hmm. I mean, very, very
Okay,
interesting
it's a
question.
good question.
Just I think a few days ago, my daughter was telling me that she wants me to buy a bag of popsicles for her. And I was like, what do you want to do with that? She said, you know
I'll
what?
tell them.
I want to sell them, for $2 a pop. And
Uh-huh.
I'm like, why do you want to? They said, well, you're
Businessman,
a financial
business lady.
educator. You're a financial educator. You teach me about all these things, but you don't want me to do it. And this is my soon to be 13 talking to me. And I'm like, wow, if she could start thinking like that, obviously they say, like we say, monkey see, monkey do. So
One,
she's
two,
seen
three.
certain things that she's seen her dad do. and she thinks that this is smart. So every single teenager before they go off to college, definitely they have to understand, debt. They have to understand how budgeting works. They have to understand the tax system. They have to understand emergency savings, the ability to be able to put things together. These are some of the things that even many young adults, they don't even understand. Because as a young adult, you receive your first paycheck. The very first thing is, how do I go buy that new sneakers that just came out? How do I go buy
Yeah.
that new dress or that new video game? And they forget to get that first paycheck, and they already calculated, maybe they pay them maybe $12 or $15 an hour, and they calculated and they work 10 hours and they're expecting to come on with 150, and they say, how come my money is not complete?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's something called taxes. But guess what? Did we teach them about taxes? Did we show them this is how the system works? And I
Mm,
think these are some of the things that helps to prepare our young adults, our little children, from understanding that these are some of the things that these can cause a lot of mistakes if we don't set the foundations right. So we have to understand that these things are so important to prepare these children even before they go off to college at a very, very young age. They need to start understanding some of these concepts, and I
And these
guess
are the,
yes.
go ahead, finish up with that thought process, Demola.
Yeah, I just wanted to just just throw back to you all.
Okay, cool, cool. And I think what you said is very, very, germane. They leave college the very first time is like, oh my gosh, there is no daddy, there is no mommy, there is no sibling. I'm on my own. And to be honest, right there in school, you probably start seeing all credit cards sent out to them. One of our episodes we talked about credit cards, right? So they probably think, oh my God, I have $2,000. I have these dollars. Not
yeah.
understanding, right, that these things are expected to be used in a particular way, form, shape, or manner. And I love the example of your daughter, right? This is summer, daddy. Your daughter understand that little ones around the environment, the next block from your house, they want popsicle. Let me go do this. And to be honest, there are quite a few things our children can start doing right now, legal, legitimate, moral, that we can encourage them and also begin to teach them about this. Very powerful. And that's going to take us to move to, while we wrap things up, because again, I'm just watching our time, and I'm going to have Debola close us out here. And I'll ask you, for if there are any immigrant parent listening on to us right now, what would you say? What would you leave them with? Just one lesson today, right? That you will leave that immigrant parent with so that they can pass it on to their children. What will that be to you, Adebola?
Um, I would say that, like every financial decision has consequences.
Mm,
Okay. So the small habits, they matter. Saving matters, budgeting matters, investing, all those things matters. So the financial success is usually the result of consistent decision repeated over time. So we have to teach our children that today's decisions actually shape tomorrow's outcomes. Whatever they
mm,
Mm,
do today will determine a lot of what their tomorrow will be. So all these
mm,
things that we have mentioned, that we have talked about, we're not just giving it to them like, okay, garbage in, garbage out, garbage out. We want to make sure that they understand the fact that we are trying to help them to build a foundation that will actually bring about a great outcome for them in the future. And I can say that if we do it right to the best of our ability, these children will thank us later. And that's my one piece for
wonderful.
today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And again, this is a big shout out to not just the Gen Alphas or the Gen Zs in the house. We're even talking about the Gen Betters, okay, that are coming up. So this will really help, and this has been a fantastic conversation, so to speak. And one of the greatest gifts we can leave our children, we is not simply inheritance, but it is financial wisdom. If there
mm,
is anything I'm going to go with today, is that the subject of money is very critical, and it could either make or mar an individual. So getting ourselves into, adequate financial knowledge will help create wealth for generations. And as immigrant parents, I'm one of them. Every single person you see on the podcast, we're one of them. We're opportune to be called parents today. We crossed the borders. We overcame obstacles. We created opportunities for our families. We're still doing the same. And our responsibility now is to ensure that these children that we are custodians of, because that's my belief, we have a responsibility for them. We need to ensure that they are financially confident and not financially dependent on us. We need to teach them discipline, just like Demola talked about. Demola also emphasized, knowledge to maximize opportunities. Because schools, we cannot rely on schools to do all this teaching. Just like we talk about moral, we don't rely on school to make sure they hand them the script to morality, right? We teach them from home, our value system. We need to emphasize all of this. Look out for communities where some of these things are being taught. Enroll into it. If you have to pay for access, pay for access. And as always, as we say, when we know better, we begin to do better. The conversation is not going to be because we were not passed on some of these things. We are saying we want to do better now for the next generation. It's been amazing, Adevola. It's been amazing, Devola. Thank you so much for slicing and dicing this conversation. And, viewers, until we meet and come your way another time, we hope that you keep building, keep growing, and of course, keep creating that legacy that will outlive you in the next generation. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful one, everyone.
Take care. Have a good one. Take care. God bless.
Bye.